Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Joel Fluent Greene.
Hello. A little nervous. How's everybody doing? Everybody good? All right. Okay, so 3 R's, right? Reality, respect, and redemption. Those are my 3 R's. And when I tell my story, it'll make sense. I decided to take advantage of this and say something that's really close to my heart, something that is not easy to say, but I feel like it's necessary. This is a great opportunity, right? So why waste it? So I hope that I remind you of a man that you may know in your family. It could be an uncle, it could be a friend, it could be a cousin, a brother, it could be you. So I hope you enjoy it, and this is my story. So I'm gonna take you back, so let's say late 90s, Detroit, around the time when like Afrocentricity was cool, when I had like dreadlocks, I had cowrie shells, I was a poet guy, you know, I probably looked like a junior Eric Benet or something, you know, like the, pseudo deep looking, guy walking around Detroit, taking the bus to the poetry spots and hanging out late and all that. So I used to do a poetry event at a place called Cafe Mahogany, which was downtown. Now it's been closed for years, but the memory still holds strong with a lot of people. And so I used to go down there all the time. When I wasn't doing the event, I would just go down and hang out. It was like a second home for me. And when I would go sometimes, I would see this young lady there. She would hang out. She was beautiful. I'm talking like a model, just beautiful brown skin. She just walked by me, didn't really look at me, didn't really pay much attention to me. And I knew that she had a loft above Cafe Mahogany. So, one day I'm at the Mahogany and I'm sitting at the bar and I see her sitting like a couple of chairs down from me. I'm like, let me talk to her. And somehow I got the nerve to talk to her. I'm young, I'm insecure, dreadlocks and cowrie shells and all that, but I was just coming into myself, early 20s, and I just figured I see this beautiful woman, let me just talk to her. So she talked to me, and a little conversation, and before I know it, we got information exchanged and all that good stuff, and we started dating. And she was a little older than me, she was like late 20s, I'm early 20s. All the things that I wanted to be, I felt like she kind of had, the confidence. She knew what she wanted in life. She knew what she wanted to do in life. She woke up, she had a job. Me, I'm just this poet guy, And so, and I really thought she was beautiful and she was sexy. So that was our connection pretty much. We spent a lot of time together. We had great sex. And it just really had a lot of fun. And this happened for about a period of a couple of months. And I would go by her house and we kind of talk and have sex and have fun. And then I noticed, like, after a while, it's like, this is only going to last so long. She's a different kind of person I am. Great person, strong, wonderful person, but at the same time, we're just different. She was more, I would say, T.D. Jakes. I was more Tribe Called Quest. She was more Tyler Perry, and I was a little bit more Spike Lee. You know what I'm saying? So it was just it was a whole nother thing, basically, but at the same time, it was good. The sex. So that's what I was all about. I'm young and horny, I'm just having sex with this fine-ass woman, it was great, I mean, come on, really, you know what I'm saying? So that's what it was. So, fast forward, but after a while, it's like, okay, this is only gonna last so long. So, I talked to her one day, I said, hey, you know what, I like you a lot, we have a great connection, we're having all this fun. You're a little older and, you're experienced, and I'm loving it, but at the same time, this is not gonna go the long haul, so let's just kind of be friends and keep things cordial. And I'm young, I still want to meet other women, and she was taking up a lot of my time. It's the truth. Come on, let's keep it real, right? So she said, okay, like a mature woman does. She said, yo, that's fine. That's okay. I understand that. That's fine. So I said, okay, fine. And that was that. We're cool. So, my mind kind of physically left, like, okay, well, I'm fine now, I can date other women, but physically, as far as the sex, I was still thinking about that, like on a daily basis, like, oh, I missed that, I would, go by her house and my knees would buckle. I just felt the energy of the sex. I just knew it, I knew what it was and what it could be, and I missed it. So one day I'm at the bank, and by this time, she had actually moved from her loft above Mahogany to a little closer to where I lived, which was in Oak Park, Michigan, like 9 miles, maybe it's like 1 square mile, So somewhere between Coolidge and Greenfield. So anyway, so she moved to Oak Park, and she was a little close to where I was. My bank was also in Oak Park. So I'm in line at the bank, And I had just been thinking about her maybe about 5-10 minutes before that, literally, seriously, like in the parking lot. And, well, I don't know how that sounds, but I was just thinking about her. So, I get a phone call, probably from a Nextel or Sony Ericsson. This is like 1999. So probably had my fancy Sony Ericsson, and I whipped it out and I pulled out the antenna, And I answered the phone, and I'm like, hello. She's like, hey, this is, I'm like, hey, how you doing? She's like, I'm fine. Do you want to have sex one more time? Yeah. Yeah, of course. What's today? Tuesday? Sure. But so I hurry up and finish my transaction at the bank. I might have left my ID. Who knows what happened? I left. I speed to her house, get to her place. We have a great evening of fun. Okay. Now, before this time, we're young, we're having fun, we're using protection, lots of things like that. At this time, she informed me that she is on the pill, so we don't need to use protection. Now, of course, there's diseases. We're all smart adults and all this, but at the same time, I was a not so smart younger person. And I was like, okay, you're on the pill. I trust you. You don't want a poet. You don't want a poet's child. You don't want like a young, irresponsible, frankincense-smelling, cowrie shell, dreadlock poet guy's kid. Come on. You're the sexy, sophisticated skirt and heel-wearing woman. Come on, really. So I believe that. She told me that was the fact. And we all know the only thing better than sex is unprotected sex. So this is, the truth when you're, whatever, married, of course. Hey, I gotta look out for the parents, come on. So that's what happened. Okay. But made it clear, like, hey, listen, this is what we're doing. This is all it is, no relationship, whatever, fine. Okay, she's fine with that. After that evening, time goes on. My job is actually not too far from where her apartment was, so in between my job and my house, I would kind of see her place, knees buckle a little bit, but I stayed away. I just like, this was it, that's what we did. Get a phone call. Hey, Joe, I'm pregnant, of course. Could be worse now, so I took the pregnancy in stride. I had never heard that before in my life now, and I'm a father, a proud father, but I had never heard that. So this is my first time ever experiencing, wow, I'm pregnant. So, okay, you're pregnant. I'm scared shitless, very scared, very afraid, but I still, at the heart, I'm a nice guy. I grew up in a 2-parent household. I wanted to be right, but I was scared. I never heard this before. I was insecure, I was unsure of myself. I didn't know what to do. But I told her, hey, you're pregnant, we're in this together, this is what it is. This is fine. I work across the street, you live right here, my house is right here. In between us all, we'll work it out. And we'll work it out, and I'll be there, But I didn't love this woman, and she didn't love me. This was a child that we were going to have, and we knew our situation, and it was tough. So fast forward a little bit, I'm going by there during, after work, I go by there, put together maybe a crib, or I put together this, or I bring something from the store or something, just to kind of help her prepare and do this, and do what I could do at the time. Because at the time, I didn't have a lot of male guidance either. I had my dad and male figures in my life. But at the same time, I had no one really guiding me through the whole situation. Not like someone should, but at the same time, I was young and I was scared. I didn't know what to do. So what happened was, one day I'm going by there, and during arguments and times we would talk, she'd always kind of tell me like, hey, I have my parents, they live out of town, and any day now I could just move out of town and live with them. I don't have to be here with you. I don't really need you, I could just live with them. Or I could have my mother come live with me. We don't really need you. And I would hear this. And I would see pictures of her parents. They look really stern and scary around the house. We just turn this and let that face the wall, but I never met her parents. So she told me, like, I come by there and she's like, well, hey, listen, I want you to meet my parents. Let's, they need to meet you. You need to meet them. This is what it is. She hadn't told them she was pregnant yet. This is early on, but she wanted me to meet her parents. So we all go to Red Lobster, and I'm young and broke. I probably had like $30 in my pocket. And her father made it very clear, to her to make sure she told me that he was not paying for me and her. He was paying for him and his wife, which is fine. Yes, sir, Mr. Stern, square-head guy. That's what it is, no problem. And I meet her father, and this is the funny thing too about her father. So we all go to Red Lobster, and I'm sitting there, and I meet her father, and I see his picture in real life. He's even bigger and bulkier than I imagined. Like straight out of a military like recruitment thing or something. And like, he kind of looked like Lawrence Fishburne, but not like the Matrix Lawrence Fishburne, but like Lawrence Fishburne from Blackish, like the older, more serious Lawrence Fishburne. So it was just like, oh, I gotta deal with this guy. And his wife was just sitting there the whole time looking at me, like sizing me up, like, oh, you're broke? Look at your shoes, like you've been catching the bus somewhere. This is what's going on with you. All right. So, after the whole dinner, I skirted by, I managed to pay for the dinner for me and her. Probably I might have ordered a salad or just Red Lobster, who knows, I had some cheese biscuits, I don't know, and some water. Who knows, that's free, right? So I had that. So I paid for it then, we all left, that's fine. Didn't really go all that great, but whatever. I asked her what she thought. Parents, whatever, they don't really, they're okay. They'll be fine at the end of the day. This is what it is. This is what we're doing. Okay. So more arguments and time passed and things, and me and her not getting along, and just our differences were so glaring, and it's just what it was. So one day I'm going by there to put together something for the baby, and she wasn't home. And she lived in a townhouse kind of complex, so I'm like, kind of looked in the window, I picked up the reports, and I kind of look, and I don't see any furniture or anything, and the blinds are kind of moved a little bit. I'm like, what's going on? So I see the neighbor guy, and I say, hey, have you seen her? He says, yeah, I don't think she lives there anymore. I think she moved. I'm like, well, this had to be in the past couple of days. I've been around, we've talked, and this is like, yeah, I think she left. Come to find out, she calls me and she tells me that she did move. Moved out of town with her parents. Didn't tell me she was moving, but all those threats became real, and she did it. And left me here, knowing that I was going to be a father to a child that lived in another state. And also that I was going to be on child support. And this is what we're going to do. And I would like to tell you that I just fought for my rights and no, you're not going to take my child, you're not going to do this, you're not going to do that. Well, like I said, I hope I remind you of some men you may know in your life. I was scared and I was young, and I let it happen like that. I let her have the way that she wanted it to happen, because I didn't know what to do. I wasn't even mentally, really, I was trying to prepare myself for fatherhood. I had no idea what that even entailed. She left, I'm here, go to Oakland County, I'm scared shitless, have a horrible experience at Oakland County in front of the court, because they're just like, hey, bum guy, this is your child, you owe this money, see you later. And that's what it was, and of course, oh, she said she's on child support, she was on, right, and birth control, she really wasn't. They don't care about all that. All they care about is the bottom line, you need to take care of this child, and I understand and respect that. But at the time, I wasn't mentally prepared. So, time goes on, years go on down the line, life goes on, success, failure, success. Come to find out, I've been dealing with depression throughout this whole time. And I never really knew why I handled a lot of things the way I handled it, why I avoided things, why I would be in a room for a day or two and didn't talk to anybody, why I would feel so sad all the time, why during times why I would be around in front of people and hosting events and reading poetry, and inside of myself, I just felt like I just wanted to be at home by myself, and I would think about my son every day and want to see him, and the attempts I made to see him and how she would be denying of that and say, okay, well, I'm going out of town, or I'm not available. And after a while, those attempts became less and less and less, because I let those defeats stop me from trying to do the thing I needed to do in the first place, which was be in his life. And I let that deter me to the point where it just became second nature. And then after that, relationships, I had children, that, and life goes on, and things happen. And because of me and my depression and having jobs and not having jobs and paying and not paying, I became in arrears. So I have child support arrears. So I'm paying these arrears, and I have to go to court now. Now, all this time, I'm thinking she's out of state because life has went on. And when I tell you life went on, I mean years have gone by. When this young man is a baby, and now he's a teenager. Yeah. And never in my life, I'm never in his life. This is the way it's been. So I go to court, and I'm in the courtroom with his mother, and she's still beautiful. This was 2 months ago. She's still beautiful, still looks great. I was kind of upset about that, but not really. Well, it makes sense. I mean, she would look good. She's a winner, that's what it is. she's always been a winner. She's a winner. So that's just, you know, of course she looks good. So, but I have a referee in the courtroom that when I tell her about my depression, instead of looking at me like I'm just this lower specimen, she says, you know what, I have a brother that suffered from depression. And yes, you owe this money, and yes, you need to be in this boy's life, and yes, you have no excuses whatsoever, and I don't want to hear any excuses. But at the same time, you being here shows something, you caring shows something, and the fact, and she Googled me and looked up the things that I've done, and I've never been so embarrassed in my life. But she wanted to see, well, how much can you pay? And what can you do based off who you are and what you do? And she said, you know, have you been on medication? I said, yeah, I was on medication. After all these years of being depressed and down, 2 years ago, I went and decided I'm gonna take control of my life, and I actually went to a place called Detroit East, where I was probably the most sane person there. People talking to themselves and all types of stuff. People on suicide watch. This is really going on. And I'm there like, hey, I have depression. You know, I'm depressed. I get down. I don't want to do stuff. I feel sad. I don't know why. Help me out. And I started to talk to somebody, and I started to really go through my life and start to really figure out why I was like that. So, and because I started to conquer that, I came into the courtroom this time around now as a grown man, more confident. And like, I'm going to tackle this, I'm going to take care of this. And I started to understand and respect her and not hate her, because she may have made some decisions she wanted to make at the time, but look what I did. You know, and I never handled anything right from the beginning. And I'm sure during the years she might have felt some regret and pain and maybe even some shame over the way she did things. But at the same time, she raised a wonderful young man. Come to find out, he speaks Mandarin. At the time, he was in China. He wasn't even in the state. You know, he speaks Mandarin, he goes to a great school, he's getting a great education, and she's done all this without me being in his life. And this is where I'm at. So what I'm going to do is be in his life. That's all I can do. I'm saying this because I just want people to know that it may be hard a lot of times to take control of yourself, of your life, and take control of things. And sometimes you let people do things, and you think the world's beating up on you, and you make excuses, and you get down and all that. But there comes a point when you really do, you know, you got to look at things like, you know, I really do care enough about myself and my children and what I have to do out here and my purpose in life to actually get myself together. You know what I'm saying? And make it happen. And don't look down on the men that you know in your life. Don't hate them, you know. Understand them. You can be mad at them. You cannot understand why they made the decisions they've made, but don't hate them. You know, just love them because they're your brothers just like I am. I'm gonna say a quick poem. This is a poem I've read over the years, and I never really embellished on why I wrote this poem or really, you know, elaborated on it. But you all know my story now, so now you know where this poem came from. And this is the last time I'm reading this freaking poem. Because after this, I'm gonna make the steps to be in his life, and I'm not gonna read this ever again. I'm just gonna bury this, okay? All right, it's called Overcome, and I hope you like it.
See, little black boys, they need their black daddies, I heard. And little man, I'm coming for you. I'm just spreading the word. See, daddy's trouble man. And I'm struggling to use more verbs. I'm about to tuck my feet in and become a bird. I'm going to fly to your city. Let's go and have breakfast. See, that's what me and your late great-grandfather did. And how's that working out for you, huh? Being a kid, running around in a living room that seems so big, dig. I thought your mother knew the type of man I was. I wish your mama knew the type of man I am. And see, kittens turn to cats. Bro's a part of God's plan. It's the realest shit I ever wrote. And I hope you understand that a man can change, and me, I'm just one man. I'm a work to turn $1 bill into a grand. Overcome is the word that comes to mind when I share this rhyme. Your daddy likes old music and old wine. I can't press rewind. I feel pressed for time. You're always on my mind. And land cannot separate that blood that binds. And yours is mine. And yours is mine. Little black boy, you need your black daddy. I'm here, committed to it with one toast on the first of the year. There's a hole in my soul, part of me disappeared. White spot on my watercolor. Time we got to know each other. And these things I have to say. Thank you.
Joel Fluent Greene.